Hello and welcome to Chapter 1, Part 2 of Star Maker by Olaf Stapledon. Written in 1937, read today by myself, Jonzo Didmo. Earth Among the Stars. Overhead obscurity was gone. From horizon to horizon, the sky was an unbroken spread of stars. Two planets stared, unwinking. The more obtrusive of the constellations asserted their individuality. Orion's 4 square shoulders and feet, his belt and sword, the plow, the zigzag of Cassiopeia, the intimate Pleiades, all were duly patterned on the dark. The Milky Way, a vague hoop of light, spanned the sky. Imagination completed what mere sight could not achieve. Looking down, I seemed to see through a transparent planet, through heather and solid rock, through the buried graveyards of vanished species, down through the molten flow of basalt, and on into the Earth's core of iron, then on again, still seemingly downwards through the southern strata to the southern ocean and lands, past the roots of gum trees and the feet of the inverted Antipodeans, through their blue, sun-pierced awning of day, and out into the eternal night where sun and stars are together. For there, dizzyingly far below me, like fishes in a lake, lay the nether constellations. The two domes of the sky were fused into one hollow sphere, star-peopled, black even beside the blinding sun. The young moon was a curve of incandescent wire. The completed hoop of the Milky Way encircled the universe. In a strange vertigo, I looked for reassurance at the little glowing windows of our home. There they still were, and the whole suburb and the hills. But stars shone through all. It was as though all terrestrial things were made of glass, or of some more limpid, more ethereal vitreosity. Faintly, the church clock chimed for midnight. Dimly, receding, it tolled the first stroke. Imagination was now stimulated to a new, strange mode of perception. Looking from star to star, I saw the heaven no longer as a jeweled ceiling and floor, but as depth beyond flashing depth of suns. And though for the most part the great and familiar lights of the sky stood forth as our near neighbor, some brilliant stars were seen to be in fact remote and mighty, while some dim lamps were visible only because they were so near. On every side, the middle distance was crowded with swarms and streams of stars. But even these now seemed near, for the Milky Way had receded into an incomparably greater distance. And through gaps in its nearer parts appeared vista beyond vista of luminous mists and deep perspectives of stellar populations. The universe in which fate had set me was no spangled chamber, but a perceived vortex of star streams. No, it was more. Peering between the stars into the outer darkness, I saw also, as mere flecks and points of light, other such vortices, such galaxies, sparsely scattered in the void, depth beyond depth, so far afield that even the eye of imagination could find no limits to the cosmical, the all-embracing galaxy of galaxies. The universe now appeared to me as a void wherein floated rare flakes of snow, each flake a universe. Gazing at the faintest and remotest of all the swarm of universes, I seemed by hypertelescopic imagination to see it as a population of suns, and near one of those suns was a planet, and on that planet's dark side a hill, and on that hill myself. For our astronomers assure us that in this boundless finitude which we call the cosmos, the straight lines of light lead not to infinity, but to their source. Then I remembered that, had my vision depended on physical light, and not on the light of imagination. The rays coming thus to me round the cosmos would have revealed not myself, but events that had ceased long before the earth, or perhaps even the sun, was formed. But now, once more shunning these immensities, I looked again for the curtained windows of our home, which, though star-pierced, was still more real to me than all the galaxies. But our home had vanished, with the whole suburb, and the hills too, and the sea. The very ground on which I had been sitting was gone. Instead, there lay far below me an insubstantial gloom, and I myself was seemingly disembodied, for I could neither see nor touch my own flesh. And when I willed to move my limbs, nothing happened. I had no limbs. The familiar inner perceptions of my body, and the headache which had oppressed me since morning, had given way to a vague lightness and exhilaration. When I realized fully the change that had come over me, I wondered if I had died and was entering some wholly unexpected new existence. Such a banal possibility at first exasperated me. Then with sudden dismay, I understood that, if indeed I had died, I should not return to my prized concrete atom of community. The violence of my distress shocked me, but soon I comforted myself with the thought that, after all, I probably was not dead, but in some sort of trance from which I might wake any minute. I resolved, therefore, not to be unduly alarmed by this mysterious change. With scientific interest, I would observe all that happened to me. I noticed that the obscurity which had taken the place of the ground was shrinking and condensing. The nether stars were no longer visible through it. Soon the earth below me was like a huge circular tabletop, a broad disk of darkness surrounded by stars. I was apparently soaring away from my native planet at incredible speed. The sun, formerly visible to imagination in the nether heaven, was once more physically eclipsed by the earth. Though by now I must have been hundreds of miles above the ground, I was not troubled by the absence of oxygen and atmospheric pressure. I experienced only an increasing exhilaration and a delightful effervescence of thought. The extraordinary brilliance of the stars excited me, for whether through the absence of obscuring air or through my own increased sensitivity, or both, the sky had taken on an unfamiliar aspect. Every star had seemingly flared up into higher magnitude. The heavens blazed. The major stars were like the headlights of a distant car. The Milky Way, no longer watered down with darkness, was an encircling granular river of light. Presently, along the planet's eastern limb, now far below me, there appeared a faint line of luminosity, which, as I continued to soar, warmed here and there to orange and red. Evidently I was traveling not only upwards but eastwards and swinging round into the day. Soon the sun leapt into view, devouring the huge crescent of dawn with its brilliance. But as I sped on, sun and planet were seen to drift apart, while the thread of dawn thickened into a misty breadth of sunlight. This increased like a visibly waxing moon, till half the planet was illuminated. Between the areas of night and day, a belt of shade, warm-tinted, broad as a subcontinent, now marked the area of dawn. As I continued to rise and travel eastward, I saw the land swing westward along with the day till I was over the Pacific and high noon. The earth appeared now as a great, bright orb, hundreds of times larger than the full moon. In its center, a dazzling patch of light, was the sun's image reflected in the ocean. The planet's circumference was an indefinite breadth of luminous haze, fading into the surrounding blackness of space. Much of the northern hemisphere, tilted somewhat toward me, was an expanse of snow and cloud tops. I could trace parts of the outlines of Japan and China, their vague browns and greens indenting the vague blues and grays of the ocean. Toward the equator, where the air was clearer, the ocean was dark. A little whirl of brilliant cloud was perhaps the upper surface of a hurricane. The Philippines and New Guinea were precisely mapped. Australia faded into the hazy southern limb. The spectacle before me was strangely moving. Personal anxiety was blotted out by wonder and admiration, for the sheer beauty of our planet surprised me. It was a huge pearl set in spangled ebony. It was nacre. It was an opal. No, it was far more lovely than any jewel. Its pattern coloring was more subtle, more ethereal. It displayed the delicacy and brilliance, the intricacy and harmony of a live thing. Strange that in my remoteness I seemed to feel as never before the vital presence of Earth, as of a creature alive but tranced and obscurely yearning to wake. I reflected that not one of the visible features of this celestial and living gem revealed the presence of man. Displayed before me, though invisible, were some of the most congested centers of human population. There below me lay huge industrial regions blackening the air with smoke. Yet all this thronging life and humanly momentous enterprise had made no mark whatever on the features of the planet. From this high lookout, the Earth would have appeared no different before the dawn of man. No visiting angel or explorer from another planet could have guessed that this bland orb teemed with vermin, with world-mastering, self-torturing, incipiently angelic beasts. Thus concludes Chapter 1, Part 2 of Star Maker by Olaf Stapledon. Read out by myself, Jonzo Didmo. Thanks for hanging out, for watching, and for listening.